recording in progress, sis.
Recording is in progress. All right.
So first, I just want to apologize that me and Facebook Live were not getting along tonight. I don't know what I did, but we were just not working. So tried twice. My phone freaked out. Facebook took me to some weird places. So we just pivoted, and now we're going to just record this on Zoom, and we will be posting it. It should still go out later tonight. So
yeah. And honestly, like, I thought the technical problems were on my end. So, you know, who knows?
Well, I mean, normally they are on your end. Like, let's be honest.
They probably are on my end. Let's just be honest. Like, technical problems are almost always on my end.
Always on your end. So,
like, let's just be clear.
Yes.
Full disclosure, it was probably my fault.
Yeah. Usually it should be your fault. Tonight it just didn't happen to be. I'm going to blame Facebook.
I think we should absolutely blame Facebook. Yeah. So, because, like, why not?
So welcome to our not live BiblioTalk.
But our second BiblioTalk, which is exciting.
Yeah,
like, now this is our second one, so hopefully maybe it'll be, you know, like a little bit better maybe than the first one.
We'll see. We're gonna try and be funnier. That's what we're gonna do. While we talk about women's history, because it's hilarious.
I'm not really sure that's gonna work, but we'll see. But just in case you weren't at the first one, I am Hattie Bergstrom. I live just north of Philadelphia in Yardley, Pennsylvania. And I studied anthropology and history and theology at college. And now I am an online professor for theology at St. Catherine's University, which ironically enough is actually physically located in Minneapolis, St. Paul, where Hannah is from.
Where I'm from. Well, where I live. It's not where we're from, but we're from Iowa. But but yes, I live in south of the cities in a smaller-ish town. And I am a mother of 7-year-old twin boys.
They're wonderful.
They're delightful. And I'm a part-time pastor in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. So again, overeducated, both of us, for sure.
Guilty.
What?
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. I have a degree from Iowa State in English education, nothing really exciting. And I wanted to point out my cup because Hattie will get a kick out of this. So this cup says, "You're the best."
You're the best.
I won this cup from a competition that I won at my gym.
Because she CrossFits, everybody.
But
she CrossFits.
But do you want to know what I won at my gym? What competition I won at my gym?
Do tell, Hannah, what competition at your gym did you win?
I was the fastest person to give blood. That's right. That's right. I gave blood in 4 minutes and 12 seconds. And I have my title to uphold later in April. So, but yeah, we've been doing a blood drive. One of our coaches has started doing blood drives at our gym. And so and I was like, I'm going to win that sucker. And I did. I give blood fast. It's the only thing I will ever win in a gym competition.
But hey, you won something
I did.
At the gym.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the love. Anyway.
Take our wins. We take our wins. We are those people.
All right.
Okay. So this is our second BiblioTalk.
Yeah.
This month, our sort of theme, which wasn't really our theme, it's like more just like the theme in general, because like this is like a thing, is March is actually Women's History Month. So we kind of took that on this month with our reading a little bit. And so we're both just gonna kind of briefly discuss a couple of books that we read that may or may not fit perfectly into the women's history genre. But we found them interesting and we wanted to share. What were you gonna say, Han? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, when I was putting the live stream together, you could put comments in it, and I called it March's Mentionables.
I love it. March's Mentionables, not March's the unmentionables, the mentionables.
So
you're so clever, Hannah.
Yeah, like not really, but thank you. Well,
I'll take that. I feel like that was kind of clever and funny.
Oh, thank you.
If I'd actually seen it, because like the thing actually worked, I would have giggled.
Right. We will put that in the description of when we post it. Promise. Okay. We have to be careful though, because otherwise we're going to go way too long.
We're going to go too long because we talk too much. So
it's already 7:20.
Mentionable. I will start the March Mentionables with this beauty. Look at this. This is actually a super gorgeous gorgeous book
It's a beautiful
called Island Queen by Vanessa Riley. And this does fit squarely into Women's History Month. It is historical fiction, but this is about a real lady. Her name was Dorothy Kerwin Thomas. And I had never heard of her, which I feel like I'm a little appalled at my own lack of knowledge about this woman, because she basically like ran the Caribbean.
That's impressive.
Like mercantile, like I mean, she was born a slave. Her father was the slave owner, plantation owner on the islands, and then her mother was a slave. So she was born into slavery, and she throughout her whole life, basically, she is just like working towards making her fortune and getting her whole family out of slavery. And this is her like. She is focused and this is what she does. And it's sort of like this amazing story of this woman that I had never heard of. And like I said, I'm irritated. I'm irritated and frustrated that this woman's name has never, come into
crossed your path.
Realm.
Particularly as like a student of history.
Exactly. Right. Like it's not like I studied math or something. I studied history. And then she went to England, and Hannah knows very well that I read a lot of like English lit stuff and historical fiction. And my next one is actually, Tudor Queen. So it's like I'm familiar, with this stuff. And I was super irritated that I never heard of her. But anyway, the story was amazing. And her life was amazing. And what she sort of had to go through and face and overcome is it's sort of like heartbreaking, but then like so inspiring because she did it, you know what I mean? It's both those things at the same time. So I would highly recommend it. The one thing that I did, as you can see, it's kind of a fatty.
Oh, it is. Is that your book?
What's that?
Is that your book?
Yeah, this is my book. Yeah, it's 572 pages, so it's a little bit of a fatty. And I will say by about 2/3 of the way in, I did feel like it kind of started to get repetitive, but then I was sort of thinking about it afterwards. And it's like, well, people do kind of fall into like patterns of behavior,
right?
And so but at the same time, I was like, okay, I felt like maybe a little of this could have been edited out, and it wouldn't have taken away from the story anything, and may have been made it a little bit less tedious, maybe. After a while, but other than that, and that was just sort of like kind of that one thing that I found to be like, okay, I'm just ready to be done with this book kind of thing. But it was great. It was wonderful. I highly recommend it to anyone who is just like interested in an amazing human. And Dolly, she went by Dolly, is absolutely in that category of amazing human, inspiring, and it's nice that at least someone looked at the records, found some information about her, and wrote up something so we have some record of her existence, because it was amazing. So that was my first one. I'll throw it back over to Hannah, and she can get us started on her first.
So my first one, and this is gonna be hard. Let me see if I can do it this side. There we go. Called Migrations. It's a very blue book and kind of light, so it's a little bit hard. It's a novel called Migrations by Charlotte McConaghy. She is an Australian author, and she's actually gotten a bit of a name for herself right now. She has a new book that came out this year called, it's in the back here. Once There Were Wolves, or maybe that was last year. I think that was maybe last year. It came out in 2021 because it was on the 2021 Goodreads. It wasn't one of the winners, but it was on that. So this book, though, Migrations, actually was recommended to me by a couple of women who I know who are very avid readers as well. And they were both like, oh, you should really read this book. It's great. Okay, I'll read it. And I did. And it is very, 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 very good. I would highly recommend it. It is a story set in the near distant future, which is a weird thing to say, but that is like how you talk about it. But so it's in the idea of, I can't talk about it that way. It is the story of one woman's journey into herself and into healing and redemption through, and I think I wrote this in my review, but like through her obsession with Arctic terns, which is a bird. So Hattie, one more time, this is a book about birds, so don't read it.
I'm not gonna read that. No worries. I'm not gonna read. I'm gonna skip that one.
I've read a couple of books about birds lately, but it's also this really kind of interesting mystery of her life. And I have to say, McConaghy does an amazing job. I don't always love those books that are like interwoven time, like in this like kind of this unwrapping. I don't always love that. Depends on the pacing of it, I think, and like why and how they do it. But in this particular one, it is incredibly well done. And the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars, I gave it 4 stars, is because I don't like any of the characters, but I don't think you're supposed to like them. Like, I think it was an artistic choice that she made, and it is a kind of a cold, there's a lot of distance, there's a lot of like unknown like even like just in people's lives, it's just really ambiguous, which is the point. But also it just makes it hard to be like, oh my God, I loved it so much, because you're like, I don't really love anybody. It was interesting, and it was fun to read, and I really liked it, and I highly recommend it. It is like so hard with that light. Sorry, guys.
Got it.
I would highly recommend this book to anybody, and particularly if you are a mystery lover. It's a really interesting mystery. So that is my first one.
That's your first one. Very good. So my second one also sort of falls right in line with the Women's History Month, and it is English lit. I got it on my Kindle, so but I think you can still see it pretty good there.
Yeah.
So this one's Katharine Parr. This is actually, and she's the 6th wife of Henry VIII. So this is the 6th and final book
of that series that we talked about last BiblioTalk.
And it is called 6 Tudor Wives by Alison Weir. The series is 6 Tudor Wives by Alison Weir. And I have to say, I actually like really happy that the series is called 6 Tudor Wives, because it really actually like, it's 6 Tudor Queens. I misspoke. It's 6 Tudor Queens. Yeah. And the reason that I appreciate that being the sort of like the subtitle of all of the books, and then the name of the series, is because that like these women are not being defined by Henry VIII, right? Because if you call it, the 6 wives of Henry VIII, then like boom, you're right back to all of these women. The only reason that they existed
aren't worth anything. Like their value is only ascribed to the man that they're connected.
Exactly. It's just it's like only because of Henry VIII, right? And that in and of itself is the reason I stuck with this series. Like these came out not all at once. Like they came out years apart, because Alison Weir did the work. She did the research, she did the work. Wow. And so these were not like bam, 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 I'm like making up these great stories and just writing them down and, and attributing them to these 6 women. She researched, they're historical fiction, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But she put the work in, and she did a lot of research on who these women were, and putting together like unique personalities and motivations for them based on her research, right? And she gives each one of them a just completely different personality, which is fantastic, right? So you sort of like, you love some of them and you're kind of like, oh man, this woman's kind of awful, and so you really do enter into this like this Tudor court, because like everything is sort of like part of this like grander Henry VIII's reign and his motivations and his politics and his court, but these women are so important in this story. And Alison Weir just does a really great job of bringing them to life and giving them their voices back, that I think way too often the queens, their voices get lost, their histories get lost.
What was that book we read last year, the history book about the 5 women?
Yes, that was Jack the Ripper, right? That one. Yes. Am I gonna remember it? That one's so good. We will put that one in the comments too. Shoot, I can't think. Are you gonna look it up?
I'm trying. I can't quite. I know it had like 5 women in it. Oh,
yeah. Oh shoot, I cannot remember. But anyway, that one was really well researched too. It's
called The Five. The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper. Yeah. So it is also really good. But yeah, we'll put I'll put that in the comments.
Definitely put that one in the comments, because that one is really great. I think I read it first maybe, and then I said, Hannah, you should read this, and I think I said, Mom, you should read this, or maybe you gave it to Mom. Yeah. And we all really, really good.
It's not fiction though. It's a historical book, but it does read very, very, very well.
Agreed.
Particularly for somebody who does not love to read history. Like that's not fictionalized.
Yeah.
So.
No, and you're right. No, I mean, and that's the thing too with writing history is like some writers like can write nonfiction history in a way that's super readable and interesting, and then like some of them are like kind of Dullsville, and they're kind of awful.
Really.
So I totally understand that. I've read a lot of that too. So yeah. So what's your second one, Hannah?
Okay, my second one, I'm actually still working on it. I'm about this far. I'm not very far in yet, but it comes with a workbook, and I love me a workbook.
You do love a workbook.
I do love a workbook. So it's Come As You Are, The Surprising New Science That Will Transform Your Sex Life by Emily Nagoski, PhD. And it's been out for a while. So this is the revised and updated version. And then I bought the workbook because I do love me a workbook.
Okay, so do you have to have sex for the workbook? Is that like what the work is?
I mean, it's not a bad idea, but so far that has not been a requirement.
Like if that's
not been a requirement right now, what I've started doing this, we'll see. It's not bad that I can maybe edit some of this. But was talking about like really good sexual experiences and really bad sexual experiences and trying to understand the context, which isn't just like candles and music, but like your whole, like the holistic context of what made those good and what made those bad. I've been really enjoying it, which is also why it's taking me a long time, because I'm actually like trying to, and I'm like trying to absorb it.
Yeah, you're not just blowing through it to get done with it.
Right. And as you know, Hattie, but maybe some of the people who might watch this don't know, I read a lot of women's lit. I read a lot of Black feminists. I read a lot of stuff in this genre-ish. Mm-hmm. And I've even read like The Things Your Mama Never Told You About Sex, or She Comes First. This book is like kind of blowing my mind though a little bit too. Like it is just this whole different approach, like a totally different framework to think about our sexuality and the way in which we relate to others. And it is really, really good. And I'm very much enjoying it. You will come as no surprise. It was a recommendation by Adrienne Maree Brown to come after her book called Pleasure Activism, which is also amazing. So anyway,
she is totally a fangirl for Adrienne Maree Brown. Like if you haven't figured that out yet, like
I'm pretty sure we'll never have a BiblioTalk that she won't come up.
Yeah, there won't probably be one.
But that is my second one, and I am very much enjoying it. And so there will be I'll have a review of that and probably a blog just in general about like what that and how it can help, how it breaks down some tropes that are just so deeply ingrained that we don't even know they're tropes anymore.
No, they're there.
So yeah, it's very, very good. I'm enjoying it.
That's great. Yeah. And just on that theme of what we're reading right now, just because I wanted to share this really quickly, because the book I'm reading right now, I'm kind of obsessed with. Hannah's already heard about it. It's called The Library Book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's by a woman named Susan Orlean. And she's actually a reporter. She was a reporter for the New York Times. And she's written this book about this massive fire that destroyed like a quarter of the LA Public Library back in 1986.
Crazy.
And again, I say to myself, I'm like, how do I not even know that this happened? Okay, granted, I was 6 years old. I was like 5 in April of 1986, right? So like I was a kid. But the thing that's super interesting, well, first off, there's like so many interesting things about it. But the reason I think that a lot of us have never even heard of this or knew this happened is it happened the same week as the accident at Chernobyl. So Chernobyl news, of course, just that's what everybody was reading. And that's, that was the headlines that week. Right. So this massive fire that burnt for 7 hours, they had almost all of the firefighters in LA trying to put this fire out.
Wow.
And like, can you even imagine? I mean, that's literally just like a building of kindling, right? And books. Yeah. So anyway, she's doing this great sort of like investigative kind of research a little bit. She's doing a lot of history of like library, like not just library science, but like the formation of like public libraries in America.
Cool. Right.
Which is super interesting. And she's like interviewing and talking to like the main suspect's family, sort of like way after the fact, right?
Carnegie
so
was
anyway,
one of the guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Tons of libraries, ton of Carnegie libraries. All over the United States. Absolutely. So anyway, I just wanted to like throw that in. It's not like women's history or anything, but it is history and it's really interesting. It's really well done.
Right.
So I'm like really,
and it's written by a woman.
I'm like,
so we'll go for it.
And it's written by a woman. Yes, absolutely. So there, it is women's history.
There you go. Women's history.
Anyway, and of course, you know,
it's a very loose interpretation of all themes in this in this particular group. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, what do you got?
So that's kind of like the wrap up for March, unless you wanted to add anything.
Nope. Okay. Good wrap up.
So, for April, everyone has looked forward to our hashtag banned books. Banned books. Which is of course like a huge thing right now, right? Like this is like in the news, it's all over the place.
And there is a resurgence of banning books. I mean, it's not quite, I was reading an article about it, and that it's not like at a crisis moment, but there is a real like push and coming out of a lot of different places. One particularly the critical race theory conversation, but right. I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. That's totally fine. Because I was just gonna go on I'm gonna go like the mini version of my soapbox about banning books.
Oh yeah, Hattie's banned book soapbox. You're welcome.
Yeah, here's the banned book soapbox, but I feel like I need to share it with our so many viewers.
Yes.
So here's my thing. This is like the brief soapbox about banning books. So I do feel like there's something extremely sort of pointless and not super intelligent about the whole idea of banning books. First off, it's kind of like a dumb thing to do in the first place. You're already sort of like proving to the world you're not a bright person by saying that we should ban books, right? Like that's not great. But also,
by the way, if anybody is surprised that we're not into banning books, you're in the wrong place. Continue.
You're in the wrong place. Yeah. You probably want to go listen to some other people talk. Because neither one of us are on the banned book bandwagon at all. Other than reading them. We're on that bandwagon.
We're on that band. Yeah.
We're on that bandwagon.
Bandwagon of reading banned books.
But there does seem like a pointlessness to ban books in a world where literally almost no one, especially like under the age of 20, right? And this is mostly like school districts and whatnot banning books right now.
Yep, that's right.
Gets any information from a book. Kids only read books if they're required to do so, and then only about half of them read it anyway. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I literally I was having a conversation with my sister-in-law the other day, and she's got a kid who's like, I don't know, how old is like 12 maybe?
10?
Yeah. 11? No, he's like 12. I think he's like
12, somewhere in there.
You know, and they were talking about, like maybe he would like to, be in this like book club or something with his cousins. And then she mentions it to her son, and he's like, oh, well, do I have to read a book? And she's like, well, yeah. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. So I just feel like there's like a uselessness in banning books in a world where no one reads books.
Yeah, if we're going to ban something, if we're going to limit something, maybe limit the thing that actually is being engaged as a source of information.
Yeah, which is not books, it's the internet and their phones. I mean, like, let's just be honest, right? I said to Hannah, I feel like this is like the equivalent of saying, you know what? We don't want kids to be able to talk to each other constantly on their phones, so we're going to go ahead and ban the telegraph machine. We're going to have a big bonfire and destroy all the telegraph machines.
Well, you don't even have to go that far. Just a rotary phone.
Like, yeah, I know. Like even like
a landline. Right. Yeah. Landlines are just killing the world right now.
I know. Like if you mention dial up to a kid, they're like, what are you even talking? Like what? Like they don't even know what that means. Right.
Yeah.
It's just like, so there just does seem to be like a uselessness in this whole idea of banning something that like, and anyway, honestly, I have to say, I also think the other part of my soapbox is I think every parent of a teenager, especially, can tell you the fastest way to get a kid to do something is to tell them that they can't do it.
So
like
maybe not the best idea.
Everyone who's been a teenager and everyone who's parented a teenager learns that lesson.
If it's banned, then I need to know what's in it. That's so bad. Yeah.
It like makes me want to know. And I'm not even a rebel. I'm like the most like rule follower person I know. And like, I know Hannah can like verify that's so true. It's really sad.
Not because you necessarily agree with the rules, but honestly, I think it's just because it's a path of least resistance for you.
I mean, sometimes it really is. It's just like, okay, it's like I'm kind of
whatever. It's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Whatever. Move on.
But even like you ban a book, or like, as soon as they like we're talking about that mouse, book that everyone was up in arms over.
Yep.
I'm like, I've never heard of this. I gotta go check it out. I gotta like see what this is.
Which
like,
is hilarious because it's been around for like
Forever.
I student taught that book.
Yeah.
And like I don't think that was when it was new.
Mm-mm.
By the way, I student taught like 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
my
it's
God,
probably more
that
than
messes me
10.
up. It'd be 10 years.
No, it's gotta be more than 10. I graduated in 2003, which means you would have graduated in like 2000.
It's gonna be 20 years.
I know. I'm like, Hannah.
Okay, sorry. Having an old person realizing it's like
she wishes. She thought 10 was a long time ago, and then she realized it was actually 20. For all of you who were keeping score on that and maybe couldn't follow, that's what just happened. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that just happened. Okay. Moving on. Yeah.
Okay. So back to our banned book thing. Now that Hannah's had like a mini panic attack over there because she's old.
Yeah.
So we're doing banned books in April. We're really excited about that.
Yeah.
I got this, like I was scrolling on Pinterest and I found this great list of banned books. Imgur.com, imgur.com. I don't even know if it's Imgur or if there's supposed to be an acronym and you're supposed to say the letters. I wasn't sure. But anyway, imgur.com. I sent it to Hannah, so she's looking at it too. And I already have 2 banned books on hold at the library, which I'm going to go pick up tomorrow. I'm doing Fahrenheit 451, which is about banned books.
Which
Love
is
it.
Hilarious.
I know. And then the other one that I hadn't heard of, so I totally picked it, was The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie, which I had never heard of. Had you heard of this one, Hannah?
No, I have not heard of this one. No,
Okay, you haven't heard of that.
Not at all.
I'm super interested to read that one because I hadn't even heard of it. And then the other one that I'm currently reading, I think Hannah's reading as well, because we're attending a virtual event next week, the 1619 Project.
It's in 2 weeks.
It's in the virtual event is in 2 weeks. But the 1619 Project, that's pretty new. That was the creator of that was Nicole Hannah Jones. And thanks, Hannah. I'm listening to mine on Audible.
I just
the interesting thing though, Nicole Hannah Jones is the creator of this, compiler of this amazing 1619 Project. She went to high school in Waterloo, Iowa, which was literally like down the road from where Hannah and I went.
Like 35, 40 minutes from us. Yeah. They were like the big school.
I went to college in
that's right.
In Waterloo. So like I went there. Yeah. So Hannah, what are you looking forward to in the banned books thing? And then I'll tell them about the event.
Okay. So first I'm going to because the list that you sent me doesn't have Fahrenheit 451, but I know that it's on a lot of lists.
Yeah,
so
it's on the time. That one didn't have it though. You're right.
So the ones that I think I was going to do, one, I've never heard of this book Forever. I don't even know what that is.
I didn't know that one either.
There's like 3 on here that I don't. Well, that one I've never heard of. And George, I've never heard of.
Nope, I don't know that one either.
It made me laugh that you didn't pick the book named George.
Well, but I'm not gonna. My husband's name is George, but like, come on, like I don't have to pick that book.
Otherwise, I think I've heard of all of them, so I might try to get those 2. But the other one that I do want to read that I haven't read yet, and I hadn't heard of The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. I never heard of that one either, but you're reading that one. Is 13 Reasons Why. Because it's a Netflix special. I've not watched it, but I know it's about suicide. So I'm assuming that that's why it's been banned. But I don't think I realized that it was actually a book. So I think those 3 are going to be the 3 that I'll maybe pop out, see if I can get from the library and over the month of April. So
perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I just finished The Prophets, which is totally on a banned book list, like every banned book list. It was amazing.
I mean, I think that if banned book lists ever went to nonfiction, I mean, I'm pretty sure Come As You Are would be super banned.
That's a lot of sex. That's a lot of sex talk on there. To not get on the banned books list.
I mean, they just have to start caring about nonfiction.
I know. Okay, so anyway, this virtual event though that we did want to mention, and we'll put the link in the comments, of course. It's called the event itself is actually called Banned Books. When books are threatened, where do we turn? And it's basically a conversation with Nicole Hannah Jones, who wrote the 1619 Project, which Hannah, my Hannah over there has. And then Ibram X. Kendi, who wrote Stamped from the Beginning, which I have the full version. Hannah has the
I
young
do
adult
have that version too.
I have the full version, but I forgot to grab it.
As well as he wrote
then,
How to Be an
Nick
Anti-Racist.
Yes, you're right. It was. And that was the one that's advertised as How to Be an Anti-Racist, not Stamped from the Beginning. I'm sorry. Those are both by Ibram X. Kendi, though.
Yes.
You're right, Hannah. And then Nick Stone wrote the one that Hannah just read, Dear Martin, which I am picking up at Commonplace Reader tomorrow.
And this is a YA. It is excellent. Our niece Samantha recommended this to me, sent me a text and said, I think you should read this book. And I picked it up and I read it, and it is fan-effing-tastic. I don't know if we're cussing or not in this, so I don't know what to do, but it is fantastic. So
good. Yeah,
we're gonna have a partners meeting about that, Hattie.
No, I've got partners meeting about the F-bomb. I don't know. So anyway, and then this is a conversation with these three authors, and then Dr. Emily Knox from University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana. And so it's going to be these three authors and this professor, Dr. Emily Knox, having these conversations about banned books, and sort of like, what can happen, what can we do in this space, that we sort of find ourselves right now. And we will definitely put the link to,
if you'd like,
virtual
and it's
event.
free. It's a free event. You just have to register and they'll send you a link for it. It's a virtual event. So both of us, and I started the 1619 project as well. So I've read the other two books. Hattie's read How to Be an Anti-Racist as well, but then, so both of us are on the 1619, and then Hattie's going to pick up Dear Martin. So,
yep, that's the plan. Looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting event. I
think so too. So, okay, so that's kind of like where we're at. We're excited for banned books. Our next BiblioTalk will be Sunday, May 1st. I wrote it down on my notes so that I could.
That's the last one we have scheduled. Are we?
That's what we have scheduled. Yes.
So if we decide we need to have another one, we might, but that's the next one we have scheduled.
We will let you know. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up for our March Mentionables. And hashtag banned books. I love saying it that way because I feel like maybe I'm like cool by saying it that way, but I know
you're not. But
nice, like I know that I'm not, but it's like I'm talking hashtags now.
Like I'm so cool. You are so cool, Hattie.
I am so not. It's like it's awful, like how not cool I am sometimes. But anyway,
thank you everyone for joining us tonight, or today, or whatever you're watching this.
Since we totally bonked on the technology situation.
I don't know what happened there. I'm a little frustrated. So
yeah,
we'll have to figure that out.
Welcome to dealing with technology. It's basically frustration, constant.
Yeah, so, all right. Well, until next time, thank you. And this is The Book War.
Out. Goodbye.